Satan locked away for 1,000 years. A world without evil sounds perfect, right? But then God let Satan loose again. Why? The answer lies with Abaddon, God's mysterious dark angel whose story will transform everything you thought you knew about good and evil. For centuries, Bible scholars have misunderstood Abaddon's true role in God's divine plan. What we've uncovered reveals a shocking truth. The very angel associated with destruction becomes God's chosen jailer for Satan himself. This isn't just another Bible story. It's a revelation that challenges our entire understanding of God's master plan. To bring you this extraordinary revelation, we've conducted extensive research across multiple biblical texts, from the depths of Old Testament prophecies to the final chapters of Revelation. We've analyzed ancient Hebrew and Greek translations, consulted with theological experts, and cross-referenced hundreds of biblical passages to piece together this remarkable story that most scholars have overlooked. By the end of this video, you'll understand. There's no training president who goes, "Aha!" God transforms a force of destruction into an instrument of divine justice. But those 1,000 years of peace serve a greater purpose than anyone imagined. The profound truth about human nature that this story reveals. Most importantly, you'll discover how this ancient story directly impacts your life and spiritual journey today. But before we begin this incredible journey, take a moment to comment "I seek truth" below. This helps ensure our community stays focused on sincere spiritual growth. Part 1. The Evolution of Abaddon. Deep within the ancient scrolls of biblical history lies a tale so extraordinary. It challenges everything we thought we knew about angels, destruction, and divine purpose. Our story begins in the dust-swept lands of ancient Israel, where the name Abaddon first emerged in whispered conversations among scholars and prophets, who dared to speak of things that dwelt in the shadows between heaven and earth. Picture yourself in the time of Job, when the world was still young and mankind was just beginning to understand the vast complexities of God's creation. In those days, the desert winds carried stories of a place so terrifying that even the bravest souls trembled at its mention. This was Abaddon, a realm of absolute darkness that lay deeper than Sheol itself. In the book of Job, chapter 26, verse 6, we find the first haunting description. Sheol is naked before God, and Abaddon has no covering. The ancient Hebrew texts paint a vivid picture of this realm. Imagine a void so absolute that it devours even darkness itself, a place where the very concept of hope ceases to exist. The ancient Israelites believed that while Sheol might hold the dead, Abaddon consumed everything that entered its domain, leaving nothing behind, not even memories. The mystery deepens as we explore the writings of King Solomon in Proverbs. Here we find something remarkable. Abaddon isn't just a place of destruction. It's described as being under God's direct supervision. Sheol and Abaddon lie open before the Lord. Proverbs 15:11. Picture the most powerful destructive force in creation, yet even in its terrible might, it remains under the watchful eye of the Creator. This revelation sent shockwaves through the ancient world. What kind of being could be so destructive that God himself kept it under constant surveillance? But here's where our story takes an unexpected turn. As we journey through the biblical timeline, we witness something unprecedented. In Job 28:22, the text suddenly shifts in a way that would have left ancient scholars speechless. Destruction and death say, "We have heard a report about it with our ears." Stop and consider this moment. Abaddon is no longer just a place or a force. It's speaking. The destroyer has found its voice. This transformation continues through the Psalms, where we find perhaps the most puzzling question in all of Scripture. In Psalm 88:11, the psalmist asks something that would have seemed impossible to his contemporaries. "Is your steadfast love declared in the grave, or your faithfulness in Abaddon?" Imagine the shock of ancient readers, someone daring to suggest that God's love could reach even into the depths of ultimate destruction. It's like suggesting that fire could exist underwater, or that darkness could emit light. The story reaches its climactic revelation in the New Testament's book of Revelation. Here in chapter 9, verse 11, we witness a disclosure that changes everything. They have as king over them the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon. The force that ancient Israelites feared, the darkness that consumed hope itself, is revealed to be an angel, a being of divine purpose, serving in God's grand design. But this isn't just any angel. Imagine discovering that the guard of the world's most secure prison was once its most feared outlaw. Abaddon, the very embodiment of destruction, becomes God's chosen instrument for containing evil itself. The texts describe him leading an army of supernatural locusts, being so terrifying that their mere description in Revelation would have struck terror into the hearts of its first readers. Faces like humans, hair like women, teeth like lions, and wings that sound like an army of chariots rushing into battle. Yet here's the most astonishing part. This transformation wasn't about changing Abaddon's nature. It was about revealing his true purpose. Every aspect that made him terrifying as a force of destruction made him perfect as Satan's jailer. Think about it. Who better to guard the prison of evil than one who understands the absolute nature of destruction? It's like discovering that what you thought was a weapon of mass destruction was actually the key to maintaining universal peace. This divine repurposing reveals something profound about God's wisdom. Just as a master blacksmith can take raw iron and forge it into either a weapon or a plowshare, God takes what appears to be pure destruction and transforms it into an instrument of divine justice. Abaddon's evolution from a force of annihilation to an agent of God's will demonstrates that nothing, absolutely nothing, is beyond God's ability to redeem and repurpose. But perhaps the most shocking revelation is yet to come. When we understand how God uses this former angel of destruction to implement one of the most mysterious periods in biblical prophecy, the 1,000-year imprisonment of Satan himself, we begin to see the true genius of God's plan. The very qualities that made Abaddon feared throughout creation become the perfect attributes for his divine mission. As we delve deeper into this remarkable story, we'll discover how Abaddon carries out his role as divine jailer, and what this 1,000-year imprisonment reveals about God's ultimate plan for humanity. The way this former angel of destruction executes his mission will challenge everything you thought you knew about divine justice and mercy. Part 2. The Divine Prison. Warden. Picture yourself standing at the edge of creation's most secure prison, where darkness meets divine purpose. This isn't just any celestial holding cell, it's the bottomless pit, a void so profound that ancient Jewish mystics claimed a stone dropped from its edge would fall for eternity. And guarding this cosmic maximum security prison stands an unlikely warden, Abaddon, the angel whose very name once made the bravest prophets tremble. To truly understand the magnitude of this divine appointment, we need to journey back to the earliest mentions of Abaddon in biblical history. In the book of Job, the oldest text in the Bible, Abaddon appears as a concept so terrifying that it's mentioned in the same breath as death itself. The ancient Hebrews would whisper his name, for to them Abaddon represented the ultimate destruction, a force so powerful that even the dead feared its presence. But God, in his infinite wisdom, saw something in this angel of destruction that no one else could see. Imagine the heavenly court's astonishment when God chose not Michael the mighty warrior who first cast Satan from heaven, nor Gabriel the trusted messenger of divine proclamations, but Abaddon, the destroyer, to be Satan's jailer. It would be like choosing a demolition expert to preserve history's most precious artifact. The transformation of Abaddon's role is revealed in Revelation 9, and what a revelation it is. The text describes him commanding an army that would make modern military forces look like toy soldiers. His locusts, and these aren't your ordinary crop-destroying insects, emerge as a force that combines the most fearsome aspects of creation. Their bodies gleam like polished war horses, their faces bear an unsettling human intelligence, and golden crowns rest upon their heads, signifying divine authority. But it's the details that make this army truly extraordinary. Their hair flows like women's hair, a symbol of seduction in ancient warfare, yet their teeth are as fierce as lions' fangs. Iron breastplates cover their chests, creating a sound like countless chariots rushing into battle when they move. Each detail was carefully chosen to inspire both awe and terror, yet these creatures operate with surgical precision that reveals their divine purpose. Consider the remarkable restraint of this fearsome army. Despite their terrifying appearance, they're given strict limitations. They can't harm the grass, trees, or any green thing, a stark contrast to natural locusts. More importantly, they can only affect those without God's seal on their foreheads. This isn't mindless destruction. It's precise divine justice, administered through the most unlikely of agents. The climactic moment arrives when Abaddon must fulfill his primary mission, imprisoning Satan himself. Imagine the tension as the destroyer faces the deceiver. The biblical account describes a chain of extraordinary strength, forged not of earthly metal, but of divine authority. With this chain, Abaddon binds the one who had proudly claimed equality with God. There's profound irony here. The great deceiver who once walked in heaven's courts now finds himself confined by one who once represented destruction itself. The bottomless pit, Abaddon's domain, becomes the ultimate supernatural supermax prison. Ancient Jewish texts describe it as a place where space and time lose meaning. It's not just deep, it's bottomless. Not just dark, it's the essence of darkness itself. Here, Satan, the former morning star, is sealed away not just by physical barriers but by divine decree, with Abaddon standing as the unwavering enforcer of God's will. What makes this story even more remarkable is its implications for understanding God's nature. Here we see divine strategy at its finest, taking what was meant for destruction and repurposing it for protection. It's like watching a master craftsman transform a weapon into a shield, or seeing a demolition expert become the world's greatest architect. The shocking truth about Abaddon's appointment reveals God's perfect wisdom. Who better to guard against deception than one who understands the depths of darkness? Who better to maintain an inescapable prison than one who knows every possible means of destruction? In Abaddon, God didn't just choose a jailer. He demonstrated his power to transform and redeem any force in creation. This transformation carries profound implications for every believer. If God can take the angel of destruction and make him the guardian of peace, what could he do with the broken pieces of our own lives? Abaddon's story isn't just about cosmic imprisonment, it's about divine redemption on a universal scale. As Abaddon maintains his millennia-long vigil over Satan's prison, the world enters an era of unprecedented peace. But in this perfect world without evil's influence, humanity faces its greatest test. What happens when you remove the tempter but leave free will intact? The answer reveals shocking truths about human nature and God's ultimate plan that will challenge everything you thought you knew about good and evil. Part 3. The Millennium of Peace, a world without Satan's influence. Picture the most pivotal moment in human history since creation. The air grows thick with anticipation as Abaddon, the dark angel of divine justice, descends from heaven. His wings, described in Revelation as sounding like many chariots rushing into battle, create a thunderous roar that echoes across the cosmos. In his hands he holds a great chain, forged not of earthly metal but of divine power, the only restraint capable of binding Satan himself. The confrontation is cosmic in scale. Satan, the great deceiver who once walked in heaven's courts, now faces his imprisonment. Abaddon, once an angel of destruction, now serves as God's chosen jailer. The irony is palpable. The very being who once spread chaos now enforces divine order. As described in Revelation 20:1-3, Abaddon seizes the dragon, that ancient serpent, with authority that can only come from God himself. The chain wraps around Satan, each link representing a year of his 1,000-year sentence. The bottomless pit opens, its darkness deeper than the space between stars, and Satan is cast in. The sound of that prison door closing reverberates through creation itself, marking humanity's entrance into an era unlike any other. As Satan's influence vanishes from Earth, the transformation begins slowly at first, then accelerates like a dawn breaking over a world that has known only night. Isaiah's ancient prophecy, written centuries before, springs to life with vivid detail. In the African savannas, lions lay down beside gazelles, their predatory instincts subdued. In the Amazon rainforest, jaguars and capuchin monkeys share the same branches. Children in India play near cobra nests without fear, fulfilling Isaiah's words that the infant will play near the cobra's den. The changes ripple through human society like waves of golden light. In Jerusalem, former enemies embrace on the Temple Mount. In Kashmir, Hindus and Muslims break bread together where once they broke peace. The United Nations building in New York transforms into a center for global cooperation, its walls now adorned with hammered-out weapons transformed into works of art. Military academies become universities of peace, their training grounds converted into gardens that feed the nations. But the transformation runs deeper than mere external peace. The very air seems to shimmer with divine presence. The curse placed on creation in Genesis begins to lift, and nature responds with unprecedented abundance. The Sahara Desert, once a symbol of desolation, blooms with life. The Dead Sea teems with fish. Extinct species mysteriously reappear as if drawn back from the brink by divine decree. The sky appears more blue, the grass more green, as if creation itself is awakening from a long nightmare. Under Christ's direct reign from Jerusalem, justice flows like a mighty river through every nation, tribe, and tongue. Courtrooms, once scenes of human fallibility, now witness perfect wisdom. A child's dispute over a toy receives the same careful attention as international agreements. The poor and oppressed, whose cries often went unheard, find their voices restored and their dignity affirmed. As promised in Psalm 72, the king judges the people with righteousness and the poor with justice. Yet here's where this seemingly perfect narrative takes an unexpected turn. In the midst of this paradise, something troubling emerges. Despite Satan's absence, despite the perfect environment, despite Christ's righteous rule, people still struggle with the shadow of sin. A child born in this millennium experiences jealousy while watching his sister receive praise for her artwork. A farmer feels pride turn to arrogance as his fields produce abundant harvests. A teacher battles with favoritism among her students, even though each one performs perfectly. This revelation sends shockwaves through the millennial kingdom. How could anyone possibly sin without Satan's temptation? The answer unfolds like a mystery, revealing a profound truth about human nature that God wants us to understand. Sin isn't merely an external force. It's woven into the very fabric of our fallen nature, passed down from Adam's first transgression. As Jeremiah 17:9 warned with haunting accuracy, "The heart is deceitful above all things, and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" Consider the implications. In a world with no poverty, people still covet their neighbor's newer, though equally abundant harvest. In a world with perfect justice, people still complain about the fairness of their blessings. In a world ruled by Christ himself, some still harbor secret desires for autonomy. This millennium serves as God's ultimate object lesson, proving once and for all that perfect circumstances cannot perfect the human heart. Yet, amidst this sobering reality, many do thrive in this new world. Those who embrace Christ's rule experience a depth of peace and joy previously unimaginable. Communities flourish with creativity and innovation reaching heights that would make Solomon's wisdom seem elementary. This is what Eden could have been, a tantalizing glimpse of God's original design for humanity, now partially restored, but not yet complete. As the 1,000 years draw to their close, an almost electrical tension begins to build in the atmosphere. Those who've chosen to follow Christ sense it in their spirits, a coming change. Those who've merely complied with his rule feel it in their restlessness. Something momentous approaches. The great experiment nears its conclusion, and the most shocking part of God's plan awaits revelation. Just when humanity appears to have found its perfect equilibrium, God makes a decision that will shake the very foundations of this millennial peace. The prison doors that Abaddon so carefully sealed are about to open, and Satan will taste freedom once more. But why would a loving God release evil back into a peaceful world? The answer reveals something so profound about God's character and human nature that it will forever transform your understanding of both good and evil, and your own role in the cosmic drama that continues to unfold. Part 4. The Final Test. Imagine a world transformed beyond your wildest dreams. For 1,000 years, Earth has basked in the glow of perfect peace under Christ's reign. The ancient prophecies of Isaiah have blossomed into reality before humanity's eyes. In Jerusalem, the center of this paradise, children with laughing faces play among blooming gardens, where lions rest peacefully nearby. The air itself seems to shimmer with divine presence, and the very colors of nature appear more vivid than in our fallen world. In this utopia, elderly people share stories with wide-eyed children about the old days, tales that seem almost unbelievable now. Stories of war, hunger, and fear feel like distant nightmares to these young ones who have known nothing but peace. The bustling marketplaces overflow with abundance, and people from every nation walk together in harmony, their former conflicts forgotten like morning mist in the sunshine. But beneath this serene surface, something profound is stirring. In the bottomless pit, bound by unbreakable chains forged through divine power, Satan has endured his millennium of imprisonment. His jailer, Abaddon, stands guard with unwavering vigilance. The once destroyer, now God's chosen warden, has kept humanity safe from the great deceiver's influence throughout these 1,000 years. The book of Revelation, chapter 20, presents us with one of the most shocking twists in biblical prophecy. As the 1,000th year draws to a close, God issues a command that seems to defy all logic and reason. Abaddon, following divine instruction, approaches the prison that has contained evil itself for a millennium. The moment arrives that will shake the foundations of human faith and reveal truths about human nature that many would prefer to leave hidden. Picture the scene. As Abaddon opens the seal, the ground trembles, and an otherworldly wind sweeps through the pit. Satan, the ancient serpent, emerges from his prison. His eyes, burning with 1,000 years of vengeful fury, survey a world that has forgotten his influence. The air grows thick with tension as creation itself seems to hold its breath, waiting to see what will unfold. What happens next is both stunning and heartbreaking. Satan, rather than being weakened by his imprisonment, launches into action with terrifying efficiency. His first move reveals his cunning. He doesn't attack directly but begins with subtle deception. Revelation 28 tells us he goes out to deceive the nations in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog. These nations, living in perfect conditions under Christ's reign, had never experienced Satan's temptations firsthand. Like children who have only heard about fire but never felt its burn, they were vulnerable in their inexperience. Satan's whispers begin to spread. Are you truly free under this perfect rule? Don't you deserve to make your own choices? Haven't you earned the right to determine your own destiny? The speed and scale of the deception defy comprehension. People who have witnessed miracles, who have lived in paradise, begin to question everything. Families are divided, Friends become adversaries. The population splits between those who remain faithful and those who are swayed by Satan's promises. The Bible describes the number of deceived as like the sand on the seashore, a vast multitude choosing rebellion despite having experienced perfect peace. The tension builds to a cosmic crescendo. Satan's followers, now an enormous army, march against the camp of God's people, the city he loves. Imagine the scene. The faithful find themselves surrounded by former neighbors and friends, now turned hostile. The very ground that had produced abundance for 1,000 years now trembles under the feet of armies preparing for battle. Jerusalem, the beloved city, stands as the last bastion of faithfulness. Those who remain true to God gather within its walls, their faith tested like never before. Parents hold their children close, wondering how paradise could have unraveled so quickly. The air grows heavy with anticipation as Satan's forces prepare for their final assault. Then, at the moment of greatest tension, heaven itself intervenes. Divine fire descends from above, swift and terrible in its justice. Satan's vast army is consumed in an instant, and the deceiver himself faces his final judgment, cast into the lake of fire, this time for eternity. Abaddon, who had guarded the prison for 1,000 years, now witnesses the ultimate fulfillment of divine justice. But why? Why did God orchestrate this elaborate test? The answer reveals the profound wisdom of divine justice. This final rebellion serves multiple purposes that reshape our understanding of faith itself. First, it proves definitively that sin isn't merely a result of external temptation, it's a condition of the human heart. Even in perfect conditions, with every need met and every blessing provided, some will still choose rebellion. This truth exposes the deep need for not just external peace, but internal transformation. Second, it demonstrates God's perfect justice. No one who faced this final judgment could claim ignorance or coercion. They had experienced paradise, witnessed Christ's reign, and still chose rebellion. Their choices were made with full knowledge and free will. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, it reveals the true nature of faith. Genuine faith isn't simply following God because it's easy or because there are no alternatives. True faith chooses God even when real alternatives exist, even when temptation is strong, even when the majority chooses differently. As we contemplate this final test, we must ask ourselves, what does this mean for us today? Every choice we make, every temptation we face, is a miniature version of this final battle. Will our faith stand firm when tested? The story isn't over yet, though. What happens next reveals God's ultimate purpose, a purpose that begins with judgment, but ends with something far more glorious. The role of Abaddon, God's dark angel, takes one final, unexpected turn that will challenge everything you thought you knew about divine justice and mercy. Picture this. A vast white throne, suspended in space, its brilliance outshining the stars themselves. Before it stands every soul who has ever lived, from the first human to breathe to the last child born before the final trumpet. This is the scene described in Revelation 20:11-15, the culmination of God's grand plan, where Abaddon plays his final, crucial role. But to truly understand the weight of this moment, we need to step back to an ancient marketplace in Jerusalem, where a simple carpenter's decision would echo through eternity. In the bustling streets, amid the shouts of vendors and bleating of sacrificial lambs, a man named Nathanael stood at a crossroads. Like many of us today, he faced a choice: to follow the revolutionary teachings of Jesus, or cling to the comfortable traditions he'd always known. The Bible tells us in John 1:47-9 that when Jesus saw Nathanael, he said, "Here is a true Israelite, in whom there is nothing false." This moment of truth, this simple daily choice, mirrors the eternal decision every soul faces before the great white throne. Now, Fast forward through time to the end of the 1,000-year reign. The world has experienced perfect peace under Christ's rule. Satan has been bound in Abaddon's prison, unable to deceive or destroy. Yet something remarkable happens. When Satan is released, many still choose to follow him. This shocking turn of events reveals a profound truth about human nature and free will. Consider the parallel with the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve lived in perfect conditions, walking with God Himself, yet they still chose to disobey. This pattern repeats throughout history. Moses' followers witnessing miraculous signs, yet worshiping a golden calf. Solomon with all his wisdom still turning to idols, and now humanity, after a millennium of perfect rule, still capable of rebellion. But here's where Abaddon's story takes an unexpected turn. This angel, once associated with destruction, stands as a testimony to God's transformative power. Just as Abaddon was transformed from a force of destruction to an agent of divine justice, every human soul has the potential for transformation through their daily choice. The scene before the white throne isn't just about judgment, it's about revelation. Books are opened, recording every decision, every action, every moment of compassion or cruelty. But there's another book, the Book of Life. This book doesn't record our deeds, it contains the names of those who chose to align their hearts with God's will. Think about your own life. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, generosity over greed, love over hate, you're writing your own story in those heavenly books. These aren't just moral choices, they're eternal decisions that echo through time and space. Abaddon's transformation teaches us something profound. No one is beyond redemption. If an angel of destruction can become an instrument of God's justice, imagine what transformation awaits those who choose God's path today. As we stand at this pivotal moment in the story, watching souls face their eternal destiny, we realize that the final judgment isn't just about the end. It's about every moment leading up to it. Every choice, every decision, every action ripples through eternity. But this isn't just ancient history or future prophecy. Right now, in this very moment, you stand at your own cosmic crossroads. The decisions you make today, how you treat others, how you respond to temptation, how you choose to live, are writing your eternal story. Why does this matter so urgently? Because just as Abaddon's transformation served God's greater purpose, your life plays a crucial role in the divine narrative. Your daily choices aren't just shaping your character, they're determining your eternal destiny. But there's something even more shocking about how these choices affect your spiritual battle today. In our next video, we'll reveal Satan's ancient playbooks, tactics he's been using for thousands of years, hidden in plain sight within the Bible's pages. Stay tuned to discover how to recognize and overcome these strategies in your own life. Here's the powerful closing for our topic. As we've journeyed through the remarkable story of Abaddon, we've uncovered truths that challenge everything we thought we knew about God's plan. Let's reflect on the profound lessons this dark angel's story teaches us. First, we learned that God's ways are far more complex and beautiful than we imagine. Who would have thought that an angel of destruction would become the very guardian keeping Satan bound? This reminds us that God can transform anyone and anything for His divine purpose. Second, we discovered that even in a perfect world without Satan's influence, the real battlefield lies within our own hearts. Those 1,000 years of peace showed us that true righteousness isn't about perfect circumstances, it's about the choices we make every single day. But here's the most shocking revelation. You're living in your own 1,000-year moment right now. Every decision you make, every action you take is writing your eternal story. Just as Abaddon chose to serve God's purpose, you face the same choice today. So, I challenge you, what will your story be? Will you, like Abaddon, allow God to transform your greatest weaknesses into your most powerful purpose? Or will you wait until that final day when every secret is revealed before the great white throne? This isn't just a story to hear, it's a truth to live. Share in the comments below how this revelation about Abaddon has changed your perspective. What daily choice will you make differently after hearing this? Type "I choose truth" in the comments if you're committed to living with eternal purpose. Just as Abaddon chose to serve God's divine plan, your comment might be the very thing that helps someone else make their eternal choice. Have questions about Abaddon's role in prophecy? Want to understand more about the 1,000-year reign? Drop your questions below. Let's build a community of believers who seek deeper understanding together. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey of discovery. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Why? Because what we've shared about Abaddon today is just the beginning. In our next video, we'll reveal Satan's ancient playbook, tactics he's been using for thousands of years, hidden in plain sight within the Bible's pages. Remember, just as Abaddon's story echoes through eternity, your choices today shape your forever. Until next time, keep seeking truth, keep choosing wisely, and keep your eyes fixed on eternity. You won't want to miss our next revelation. It's even more shocking than Abaddon's story, and it directly affects your daily spiritual battle. See you in the next video.